Hey guys, Lancy here. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for joining me. We'll look into some more MTG stocks. If you want to stick around, you can watch the stock markets as well, but I am going to split that up into probably another video as I've done in the past. Now let's get to it. So starting off with the dual lands. So really, this has probably been the longest period since I've started looking at it where it's been this stagnant for at least half of the dual lands. Some of them are still moving up. You got Bayou here still moving up slightly, but then the average price is still flatlining and even dropping down. Also, some of the prices that we went through, they're not too bad. One of the most important things to remember is when you're looking for a dual land, you kind of want moderately played to lightly played, near mint for $498. We're just not seeing the crazy prices. Okay, that's pretty crazy. But then you got a near mint for $692, near mint for $508, near mint for $498. That's very different mentality to what we had before. Now, in this case, there is only 10 listings, so they might be drawing up again. But I'm just noticing that there seems to be kind of a trend change. Another one, Bayou, 11 listings. You got some moderately played around about the 459, a lightly played for 500, a near mint for 628. You no longer have that crazy. Okay, you got lightly played here for $1,500. So it still feels a bit of manipulation, but nothing as crazy as what it was when it was happening in February, March, and April. So moving on to Azaria Signet. Now, I'm pretty sure I mentioned something, but this looks like a complete buyout to me, where the prices have flatlined at $3.57, but the average price has jumped up to $10, and that feels very much like a buyout. Maybe some people are noticing some changes coming up from Secret Lairs, where the cheaper Secret Lairs just didn't get bought as much, which means that those cards are now actually have some value because there's just not as many out there to begin with. Then you got cards like Spellbinder, which I played when I didn't play when Darksteel was happening, but pretty soon after. And the card is okay, but you had to remove it from your hand to play it, and then it's 4 mana to cast it, then it has to deal combat damage to a player, and then you may copy it. It sounds really cool when you say all those things, but it doesn't give protection to the creature. So it's a cool card, but now it's spiked from $3 or $2 or whatever it was just a couple of days ago. Maybe even pretty much just 2 days ago. And now sitting a TCG player for $12.49. So good luck with a card like this. This is probably going to be on the hit list for a lot of people because it's taken off. I'd be careful about buying it at $12, but because it wasn't like that just 2 days ago. Infernal Medusa from Legends. Pretty cool card. It's from Legends. It used to be $4.62. Now it's sitting around about $13.87. So that's about 3 times increase. I'd be careful getting into this, but it is from Legends. You can get probably TCGs maybe accurate this time. $5.45. No, I'm pretty sure that you'd probably have to get $8 to $10 for this card. Mana Short, Classic 6th Edition. Very consistent, just moving up very, very gently. It does look like there's spikes, but it really depends on how many cards are being bought out. And the fact that they're getting bought out every now and then makes it feel a bit more organic, but I'd be careful with a card like this. You probably wouldn't want to pay much more than what you were paying before, maybe $1, 75 cents if you really wanted a card like that. Azaria Signet from Secret Lairs, same thing happening here. 2 different buyouts by the looks of it. Not much to talk about. We'll have to see where it stabilizes in the next couple of months. Gabrielle Angelfire. Now this is messy. If I zoom out just a bit, you can see that this graph took off to about an average price of $63 and then dropped now to $41. But the market price is just slowly gaining steam. And I actually opened this guy up in TCG Player. You can get a lightly played for $28.75. That's a big difference to what the graphs are saying. A moderately played for $31, and near mint for $74.95. That's a bit more on the expensive side. I think a lightly played and near mint probably shouldn't have that much of a difference, but it depends on what you're willing to play. I've said it before, I don't think this card is actually that impressive. So, yeah. I don't think it's that impressive, but it depends on what kind of decks you want to play. It's a Legends card, so that helps. Strip Mine Antiquities. Now, does this also look familiar? Where If I zoom out a bit, you can see that it had a huge spike up, $206 on the average price, and then it just dropped like a rock all the way down to $1.18. And the average market price is only slowly catching up to that, and it's still moving up. So once again, TCG Player says you can get some better. I mean, you can't right now, but TCG Players did say that you could get some for $60. I feel like it's another reason to be careful, because Antiquities has plenty of other cards that are not as expensive as this. It makes it hard to agree with why a card like this would cost $97. I understand it's from Antiquities, but it also feels heavily manipulated when market prices move like this, and they chunk up, if that makes sense. Faceless Haven from Promo Pack Kaldheim. Very much a promo card, moving because of the promo fact. The Kaldheim version of it is $5, which is still pretty expensive, but it's also a really cool card. Wirehood Herald from Dual Decks Anthology. It's an elf. It's a pretty cool elf. It is very consistently been moving up for the last couple of weeks, and you can get it from TCG Player Onslaught for a reasonable price, so the movement is very organic. Soldevi Golem from Ice Age. It is on the reserve list. So we have this card spiking up again for the second time. Whether it's in anticipation of something, did something change? We know that the first time it happened was because of the reserve list taking off in popularity once all of the stimulus and everything came out. People probably had excess money, so they started throwing around the stuff. Is this a plan for it to happen again? Is this preemptive? And we'll have to see how that turns out in the next couple of weeks as well. Then you got Torpor Orb from New Phyrexia. Very annoying card. I hate it, but now it's sitting at $20, and it's been pretty consistent for the last couple of months. Moving to Mtg Goldfish, we got no real movement for the standard environment. We got a 6% gain for Zorn. Okay. 5% drop for the Demi-Leech. Okay. Nothing else really to talk about at all. Pioneer, same thing. The highest drop is highest increase is Ajani Collar of Pride. A 7% gain to now sit at $4.81. Ooh, so exciting. And nothing on the Pioneer side for the biggest drops. Modern, the most exciting thing is Spellbinder. 68% gain to now sit at $9.25. Biggest drop is the 6% drop for Worldfire, now sitting at $23.99. I've been told that it's been unbanned, and that's why it took off, but I think it took off a bit crazy, so we'll have to see how that goes. Legacy, a bit more exciting, plenty of 10% gains, but once again, you've got to be careful with this kind of stuff. This is what's being tracked. If you can't trust this source, then you're going to have to go and check eBay and just confirm what the prices are. And for Vintage, really, this is probably the first time I've noticed this many zeros, pretty much saying that nothing happened. Biggest gain was iterative analysis. That is a really painful way to say the card. 13% gain to now sit at 34 cents. Why is that a vintage card? Huh. Okay, sure. 20% drop, 27% drop for Demonic Attorney. Contract from Below, another 16% drop for both Beta and Unlimited. So I'm not too sure what the deal is with that. Maybe people are realizing that it's collectibles and not very playable, so there's money better spent elsewhere. Not too sure. Anyways, thanks for joining me this long. Let's get right into the stock market look ahead. So, main things with the stock market. Starting with the S&P 500, it has been in sell for a while. I haven't really covered it because of the fact that it's very much not something I remember because it's very US-centric, but S&P 500 is something that a lot of people would want to cover. It is turning on the RSI, stock RSI, and I would keep an eye on this. This is relatively accurate when a momentum shifts. It's just that it doesn't have to stay accurate. You can see that it's changed in multiple places, and it's not always going to be accurate, especially for a drop like this. But that 50-day moving average, the green line that you can see where it keeps hitting the buy, is the place to watch for. Currently, there is no buy indicator that's hitting me for the S&P 500, so I'd be careful about that. I personally think that the 50 is very calculated. I would not be surprised if this week closes at 445-ish for the S&P 500. I'd be very surprised if it breaks about 450. I'd be kind of surprised if it breaks below 440 as well, because that's kind of tough, actually, 442. That'll be pretty crazy, because if the S&P 500 breaks below 442, it's got a 7.23% drop, really, that it can get to. So we'll have to see and catch it the next time it falls. It could come back to 437, come back to 420, 404, but then it's hit the 200-day moving average. Moving on to the DXY, very strong showing yesterday, almost a 50%, 0.5% gain, which is pretty large for the DXY. It's the reason why gold pretty much jumped off a cliff. If we look at gold, I said that there was some weakness over gold because it had all of its moving averages above it, and it dumped. And this is actually kind of scary, because the next real chance for gold to pick up is within this range right here of 757 to about 1682. Huge range. Now, this is really strange for gold, and I'd love to see what Peter Schiff has to say about it. But yeah, I'm not too sure, and I would be very careful about buying into gold right now. If you are going to do anything like that kind of stuff, you'd probably want to step very gently into that. Another massive painful day for people that were into Tesla. People that are trying to predict what Tesla is doing, because this is a clear sell. You can say that this sell, pretty clear, sold off. Sell, makes sense. Sell, that's a bit tough. This sell happened, and then Tesla just got bought straight up. But I will admit, when this sell happened, if you went into the 1 hour mark, it would probably be much easier to read. You can also see that it's still got strength to the upside. So we're going to have to keep an eye on Tesla. There's a chance that it could take off if it breaks above 70. It's kind of 77, 8. So another like 2% up. Moving on to Bitcoin. You got a 10% drop today. 10%. 0.1% drop, so nothing at all. But more importantly, the buy indicators triggered, and it's got all of its moving averages underneath it. Everything actually looks pretty good for Bitcoin. It is within a range, and it has to get above 52,000 to actually be a safer bet than what it is currently. But it is in a good range right now, and this was a very good cash right here to get people out. If you entered around about here, that's not bad, but this is actually a very good confirmation. We'll have to see what happens if the dollar does gain strength and things get messy. There is no reason why Bitcoin can't drop, with the assumption that it brought in as many retail traders into this at the wrong time. VIX sitting at 155. 16 is a very good place for buying, but it is right now sitting at 18, and there's a chance that it could drop a bit more. But it really does depend on what the quad witching, which is something that happens, I think, third week every couple of months in the US. Every month? Anyways, it's when contracts run out, so there's a chance that it'll be pretty stable for this week, the end of this week, and then maybe we had to watch out what happens next week. US 10-year yield, nothing really happening. AUD USD, pretty much a sell-off. I'm not too sure why my sell indicator did not turn on. That looks like a pretty decent sell, but you can see that it is actually slowly falling. Nothing crazy. US oil, pretty strong gains. Yeah, that is really it. There's not much else to talk about. You can see a lot of other things have still been gaining. So you got the Shibu coin, Dogecoin still okay. This is tricky actually for Doge. That is below the 200. So we're going to see if Doge makes it over the 200. But I will call it at that. I think this is going to be an interesting day tonight. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. Thanks again, guys. Have a good one, and see you later.